Welcome to 44 and 1. Once again, I'm GVizzle. As always, this is Tempest. Pew! Oh, wrong show. Like and subscribe.
Is that a cheeky way of plugging your TikTok channel and your kick-ass facts on our
Pew, 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 pew.
burgeoning
Kick-ass
podcast?
facts. There's a new kick-ass fact released every single day. Bow, bow.
And the last one was a 9-part series on phobias. And there's still thousands more.
It was an 11-part series, and I had to take a break. So today was lightning and thunder because I needed a phobia break. And ironically, I think I have Untold Powers. Tempest. Let me tell you. Let me explain. That'll take too long. Let me sum up. So after I had first built training on how to handle basement flooding, my basement flooded. One of my peers wrote training at my behest on pet owner liability, and then Zool attempted murder. Yesterday, I recorded a kick-ass facts on thunder and lightning, and during our snowstorm, what happened, sir?
Thunder and lightning.
That's correct. There was thunder and lightning during a snowstorm.
My God.
I shall harness this power for good. Maybe.
Well, what you need to do is talk about people called Chris winning the lottery.
Why would I do that?
So I could win the lottery.
Yeah, I understand that your name is Chris. Mine is not, nor is my husband's, so that doesn't really work out well for us.
Was the husband okay when the basement flooded? That was my first concern.
It was, so it happened a year and a half ago, and my husband had that summer totally fucked up his knee. He slipped off of a ladder and like banged his knee. So he was in physiotherapy, like he was out of commission. And then I had to climb the same ladder to get the crutch. We have a crutch off of the roof of the garage from the time he did it the year before playing softball. He fucked up his other knee. So I was asleep in the bedroom. My husband had passed out on the sofa. Actually, he hadn't passed out on the sofa. He was sleeping there because his knee was too bad and he didn't want to get it banged up. This is a lot of extraneous detail you don't need. Whatever. So at 4:00 in the morning, all I heard was, fuck. Not a pleasant way to wake up.
No.
So I get out of bed, I run downstairs, and my husband is standing in the middle of the basement. Like there's a spare bedroom in the basement that was converted into his office, and it has an ensuite. And he had a ton of dollars of work equipment in there. And there was just water just pouring out of the bathtub. So what had happened, for those of you who have a water softener, water softeners have a bajillion tiny, tiny, tiny little micro beads in the lining of it. And as it starts to fail, the lining gets looser and looser. And so microbeads start to pour into your water pipes. We did not know. We started to notice that our water pressure had been affected, but we had no idea. We'd never owned a water softener before. What happened to the toilet in that ensuite was that we were trying to, let me go back a step. We had learned that this was the case. We had learned that there were microbeads in the bathroom. So we had to replace different parts of our toilets. So we were in the process of doing that. The piece we needed to replace on this toilet had completely seized and rusted out. So we were going to go like the next day to buy the parts we needed and blah, 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 blah.
A day too late.
The pressure from all the beads and the weakness of that part just blew all of it through, that there was water dripping off the ceiling.
Whoa.
It's like when it exploded, that's what woke my husband up. It sounded like an explosion. It exploded and there was like water coming out of it like a geyser. Water on the ceiling. I had like a candle in a jar on a shelf, and that was full of water. It was everywhere. And then luckily for us, it was streaming directly to the laundry room drain. So it didn't damage as much as it could have damaged, but we did get a whole new basement. Thank you. Long story short.
Very
story
important
long.
question though I have. Was the Xbox okay?
Everything was fine. It was off the ground. Thank you for asking. Thank you for your thoughts and prayers. But also, what saved us is we had a shop vac. So we were able to like suck up a ton of the water. Otherwise, we would have had to have waited like 3 hours before the guy showed up with the emergency vents and whatever. So we were able to mitigate a ton of the damage by using the shop vac. But here's a gross fact. We have never shampoo cleaned the rug in the basement.
Oh, gross.
All of the water coming into the shop vac was soapy.
Yeah. That's gross.
It was gross. So yeah, from 4 a.m. till 7 a.m, we were shop vacuuming all of the water and trying to move all the stuff around, still in our pajamas, and trying to move stuff around.
With a bum knee as well.
Yeah, him with a bum knee, me just old and crotchety. Good times.
Good
times.
There's a few bits of technology in there which I think might be alien to British listeners. Is that I don't think we have water softeners. That's a new concept to me.
So where I live, the water is notoriously hard. Like, we've been through 3 coffee makers in the 10 years we've lived in this house because the hardness of the water just fucks everything. Okay. So yeah, we have a water softener that we have to keep filling up with salt to soften the water. And when we weren't able to use it because we had to get it replaced, like there was a marked difference in our water.
I think I don't know why I've not heard of it before. Either because our hard water areas aren't as hard as that, maybe. I don't know. Or maybe I'm just dumb, because let's be honest, this is me.
It's probably the
dumb thing. Yeah. And talk about vacuuming, shampooing carpets. That's not something that I've seen done here either, unless it's industrial.
Really? My mom used to own an old school shampooer. So like you used to have to rent them. When I used to work at a grocery store, there was like a stand for renting them so that you could like shampoo and steam clean your carpets.
Am I just gross that I don't know, or is this just not a British thing?
6 of one, half dozen of the other. I don't know.
I think so. I mean, also being British is synonymous with being gross. So.
I don't know. Well, I mean,
yeah. And funny thing is you could be pointing at several things on me right now.
That's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. You look like a cootie today.
I look like a what?
You look like a cootie. Circle, circle, dot, dot. Now I've got my cootie shot.
Oh, right. Yeah, no.
Do you not have that? Do you not have cooties in the UK either?
I know what cooties are, but it's not really... We usually say it as like a joke, but it's not like a... That's not what we call it. We should call it the lurgy or something. Well,
it's a joke here too. It's not like it's the medical term.
Yeah, no, I know that. I mean, it's like we usually say... At
48, I don't walk into the doctor's office and be like, I think I have the cooties. And she'll be like, didn't you do your shot?
Oh no, when we say it's like a meta joke, like we're taking the piss out of Americans. Like, so if we're taking the piss out of somebody being gross and having the lurgy, we say, "Oh, you got cooties," and then that's the joke. I mean, we were 10 when we did this, but
huh?
Yeah.
I'm not American. I don't
care. You nearly were though.
It's close.
I like to remind you that.
It was close.
Yeah.
But it would have been like, I wonder, we've talked about this before, what I'd be like, because it could have been California and it could have been
Boston,
Massachusetts. Massachusetts.
Your mom
my parents can't even pronounce. Like, my parents can't even pronounce that. That's probably why they didn't move there.
Yeah. But your mum would have fit in there. She's got that fighting attitude. She could have been one of the fighting Irish.
Oh, yeah. She's super feisty.
Yeah.
She's already warned me that when I come over tomorrow, I've got to help her bathe the dogs.
Oh dear.
Molly went for her first haircut. Apparently she did really, really well.
So
a girl.
As has been alleged. Is there any evidence? Photos or it didn't happen?
Well, it was kind of the same thing with Zool. Like the first time I took, like, because Zool was afraid of everything when we first brought her home. She's still not, she still hasn't got over her fear of farts or shadows, but she was afraid of even more. And so the first time I took her to PetSmart to get her nails done, I walked around the store for like 3 minutes and then I heard Zool's pet parent to the front and I was like, oh, fuck, are we banned from PetSmart now? Like I thought if it was that quick, it was because she caused a scene.
Yeah.
They're like, she was so amazing. It's like, my dog?
Are you sure?
Mine. I know, she loves it.
So when we first got Padme and Hermione, because my partner's more experienced with taking cats to the vet, 'cause they were my first cats. So she was the one that did it. And so when Padme went for her first vet visit, she had to have a checkup done. And Padme, being super feral at the time, didn't like anybody touching her. But she kind of just gave up and cowered in her box. Like, so they took the lid off the box and she was just there with big eyes. And then when they were trying to put the thermometer up her bum, but she kept trying to move away from it. But then she got into the corner of the box and then she kind of ended up doing a somersault. And the worst thing to happen was her bum sticking up in the air and then the vom. Yeah. She was scandalized.
That point, you should see Gozer can't even look at me after I get his anal glands expressed.
He's like, "What?"
Just gets in the car and sits there the entire drive home. Zool doesn't care because everybody at the vet's office loves Zool. She walks in there like a rock star.
Wagging her ears. Oh, this is me again. Hello, everyone.
Because, okay, so for those of you who don't know, every day when I used to walk Zool before we got Gozer, I would halfway through my walk stop at the vet's office. Zool would get some love. I would get to pee, and then we'd go home. So now, even though it's been 4 years since that happened on the regular, because now I just pee between walks, in case you're wondering. Even though it's been 4 years, whenever I take her to the vet, she immediately walks behind the desk because she thinks she's going to go back to get love and treats.
Oh, that's so cute. No, on Hermione's vet records, the first vet that gave her a checkup, he wrote in her description, "Very lovely cat." That was the response to her checkup. Yeah,
that's a delight.
Yeah. So there. Yeah.
So what are we talking about today?
Yeah, there was a story that came out yesterday or the day before. So, what is your initial reaction when I say a 50-year-old disabled woman has been sentenced to 3 years in prison for manslaughter because she shouted at a cyclist that got run over?
I think that's kind of bullshit. Like, he's not responsible for the cyclist getting run over.
That was my initial reaction, and then I looked into it.
Okay, did she like push him into?
No, so basically they're on a shared path. Okay, so it's there's signs up saying that it's for cyclists and pedestrians. And this woman, I think she was in her early 50s, and she's got cerebral palsy and partially sighted, but cognitively and everything like that, all intact, nothing wrong there. And a cyclist was coming the other way, and she lunged at the cyclist, pushed her hand in front of the cyclist, at the cyclist, and went, "Get out the fucking pavement!" The cyclist was a 77-year-old woman who thought she was getting attacked, lost control of her bike, and went straight in front of her car and got killed.
Oh yeah, no, she is responsible. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. What a bitch.
Yeah, and then in her defense, they were trying to play on the cerebral palsy thing, which of course doesn't impact you cognitively. And the judge even said, like, "I understand you got cerebral palsy and you're disabled and you're partially sighted, but that has no bearing on your understanding of right and wrong."
Exactly.
Yeah. And basically this so
I do yell at cyclists here when they're on the sidewalk because our laws here not only dictate that cyclists have to ride on the street. My town is very bike friendly and has bike lanes. So I do yell at people, especially because if they come up from behind me, I'm wearing earbuds. I don't know what's going on around me. If they come up behind me, they're going to be riding past my dog, right? At any moment, one of my dogs can like veer out, like they're not staying on a stationary path. Or if it's, I'm not going to say which one, Zool, she's a fucking bitch. And she has been known to, to step up to bikes. So it's very likely that we would get hurt. So I understand her initial maybe thought process, but because it's a bike and pedestrian path, she's being a bitch.
And it's an old woman and she's coming towards you on the bike and you're lunging at her. Like, it's the whole specific setup of it.
Yeah, but I mean, being partially sighted, she probably didn't know right away that it was an old woman. That doesn't, it's still inexcusable, but that part likely didn't factor into it.
Yeah, there's a lot of irrelevant things around it when people have like been discussing it in comment sections in the media and stuff. It's an interesting case. So the definitions for manslaughter, there's two of them. There's like I can't remember what it's called. It's the one where you have a duty of care towards somebody and you behave with criminal negligence, which results in someone's death, but you didn't specifically kill them yourself. That's one type of manslaughter. This other one is called manslaughter through an unlawful act or something. And so in this specific case, the perpetrator behaved in an unlawful way towards the victim, where if somebody behaves towards you in a way that makes you feel like you're going to get attacked, regardless whether you are or not, that is a criminal offense. That I think it's.
And she would have been able to defend herself if she was walking, right? Like that could have led to a defense.
Yeah.
But the poor deer just. veering to the road.
Yeah. And so it's so basically through her, and then the other part of it is if the perpetrator hadn't done that, would the victim still be alive? And so basically, yes, she behaved unlawfully because she made somebody else fear for their safety, and that person will still be alive if the perpetrator hadn't done it, therefore manslaughter.
So the person in the car, assuming there's no charges against them, because I mean they just someone rides out in front of your car, you likely don't have enough time to stop. So did they get anything, or just the guilt forever having killed somebody?
Basically, yeah, and that was part of what went into the sentencing of the perpetrator, is because the driver, they had no time to stop. Like, there's video evidence of it. They had no time to react and stop, or even to process what had happened. It was that quick.
That's terrible.
Yeah. And so basically the idea is that even if you don't like what somebody is doing, you shouldn't make them fear for their safety, because that is an unlawful act. You are committing a crime by doing that.
Especially since that woman was well within her right to be on that path. It's a shared path.
Exactly.
Like where we have shared paths, they will have signs that say like pedestrians on the right, cyclists on the left, to keep the kind of flow of traffic. Is it the same there, or is it just,
depends on
it's
where
your
it
path,
is?
you sort it out?
Yeah, it depends where it is. So this particular path, okay, there's a bit of backstory to it, where the police at the time didn't want to say whether it was shared or not. They didn't want to come down and say whether it was or not. And I think
that's such an important factor.
Yeah, but then the barrister whose video I was watching, he said that he looked up on Google Maps and everything, and there were multiple signs to show you that this is a cycle and pedestrian path. So like, it wasn't ambiguous as it was being made out to be in court.
But I mean, even if it was, you don't lunge at someone, you just passive aggressively yell at them. Get out of the way.
Yeah, and then I think that's what kind of seals it as well. Like, if the woman had just shouted, like, because people shout at each other all the time, it was like the lunge and the aggressive behavior.
Yeah, because if you're on your bike and someone shouts at you, you just kind of go like, "Whoa!"
Yeah,
you keep going.
Yeah.
But someone lunging at you, you're going to veer away from them.
Yeah, it's just natural to move away from them. And then that meant that the woman then went. And there was space for them on the path as well. Like, there's space for both of them. And on most shared paths, there is a line in the middle, and then you have the bikes are usually on the roadside, and then the pedestrians are on the not roadside. That's what we usually have. But this particular path, like, I think it's because of the age of that area. Like, it still had the pavement and stuff, but it was a fucking big path.
If the bike wasn't, I mean, the only reason I get pissed off at bikes is because they have the potential to scare my dogs.
Yeah.
Bike was, and like, it's not like the bike came up from behind her. She saw the bike coming, so she had time to either respond or react or come to terms with the fact that there was a bike on the path. Yeah. And then so, and it's so shady that she tries to use her disability like that. Yeah. That's so shady that people do that, trying to use any of those things to gain an advantage.
It's funny how, I'm disabled with autism and stuff, and it's amazing the amount of people who say, yeah, I want to be treated like everyone else, but as soon as there's consequences for your actions, you suddenly forget. Oh, I'm a girl. Yeah. We used to have this conversation with the service users quite often, where they would talk about how they wanted, like, they had learning disability, autism, personality disorder, and criminal offences and all this stuff up the wazoo. So they would always say about they wanted to be treated like everyone else because they want to have a better, freer life and all that stuff. But as soon as they did something wrong or got consequences for it, they go, yeah, but I can't learn from experiences because I got learning disability. And then we'd sit them down and have a talk with them and go, no, you do know the difference between right and wrong, though, don't you?
The fact that you could even quote that back means this was premeditated and you knew what you were fucking doing. Yeah, exactly. I'm still taking my vitamins.
So yeah, it was an interesting case.
And when you first hear it, it's very clickbaity when you first hear it, because there was another one. I'm gonna sit here for 7 minutes trying to remember, but I won't remember.
Yeah, and then so should we do that what the fuck one? Because I think it's quite a good clip. I think you like it. Yes. So this actual clip, if the clip itself isn't that bad, it's just that he didn't come out and say what he really meant. So he starts off with a really clickbaity statement, but then once he starts saying it, you realize he's saying that just to get people riled up to watch it. But then his actual overriding point is pretty accurate, but I don't think he's
Jesus Christ, just roll the clip.
yeah, I was looking for it. Oh, I've got to download it.
Oh, for fuck's
Still
sake.
processing.
Are you looking for fun new glasses that won't break the bank? Go to zlul.com. They have daily flash sales. You can find frames as low as $2. Prescription, non-prescription, sunglasses, they have it all. Use my promo code to save.
You didn't even notice I'm sitting slightly higher in my chair.
How did you? Oh my goodness, I do see. I was distracted by your beanie. How
Yeah.
did you make this happen?
I found the paddle on the bottom of my chair and lifted it up. I tried to do it last time we recorded. There's like, I think about 2/3 of the way in, I remembered about it. I don't know why I haven't thought about it in the whole last year.
And then you disappeared?
Oh no, it was the other way. It shook the whole room because I was trying to bring it up, and then everything, there's a big crash and the camera shook and you didn't even notice.
My camera shakes all the time. It's on like not a very stable tripod. So every time the table moves, and like Gozer will lean against the table and start scratching himself. So the whole
Earthquakes again. We had an earthquake in South Wales the other day.
No kidding.
Yeah, 4.8. Which
Shit.
is nothing. It's nothing.
But
I don't
it's
think 4.8.
like I wouldn't have thought that you get any.
No, they do happen sometimes. There was somebody lost some tiles off their roof a few years ago from an earthquake in the UK. Yeah.
Oh.
Anyway, I was going to show you this video.
No one wants a woman in her 40s. Oh, damn.
So most men really don't want to date no woman in their 40s. And the fact is, a woman in her 40s comes with a certain level of confidence. So this confidence is going to scare a lot of men off who don't know what they want. Now, you're dealing with a woman who has some life experience. So once you get to a point when you're in your 40s for a woman, they realize time ain't forever. And once you realize time ain't forever, it's going to give you a certain level of directness. You know what I'm saying? You get into the point. And when you get into the point, you being direct, the more direct you are, the more a person who don't know what they want is going to run the other direction. So a lot of men don't really want that. Also, a woman in her 40s understands planning and organizing. You know what I'm saying? Because most of the time they have kids, so they understand the importance of planning. Men who don't know what they want and running around, we're not planning nothing. You know what I'm saying? We living on a whim. You know what I mean? And that doesn't work for a woman in their 40s. They want to know what's going on, what are we doing, when are we doing it, and things like that. And that's going to scare a lot of men off. Also, they're at a point in their life where they've accepted themselves. They know who they are. They know their flaws.
I hate to be that guy, but not all women.
Yeah.
They know what their shortcomings are. They know what their strengths are, everything like that. So you can't really manipulate a woman like that, who know her strengths, who has accepted her flaws and her shortcomings. So that's going to scare a lot of men off right there. Also, I say a woman in her 40s is a woman who does not want to play games. So her being direct and asking you, what are we? What are we doing? What's going on? Sometimes that can come off as intense. That's how it was for me when I was younger. I'm like, damn, why is she so in a rush for this and so in a rush for that? That's not that they're in a rush. It's that they don't got time to waste. So a lot of men will say they want women in their 40s and they want a woman like that, but they really don't. That's why a lot of those women are single. You know, that's a big reason why a lot of those women are single, because they're not really going for the games. You see what I'm saying?
He's got a lot of valid points.
Yeah.
As a woman in her 40s, I think I feel a smidge more qualified to speak on this than a man in his 30s. But although he did have a lot of excellent points, I don't think it's that women, for myself anyway, it's not that in my 40s I realize that time is finite and I don't have the time. It's I don't have the patience nor the energy. It's not about time, right? I think in their 20s, we're still trying to figure shit out. And it's probably the same for men, right? Trying to come to terms with letting go of all the shit that we had held onto in high school and all the teenage stuff. And it still cooks around in our brains a little bit in our 20s, and we're figuring out who we are and what we want and how we want to proceed through life. 30s can tend to be a bit awkward, although it's kind of a loosening of, you know, maybe you don't care so much about body image, or you're okay to leave the house without makeup, or you're not so concerned about people shit talking you because you haven't watched the latest movie or read the latest book or listened to the same bands. But then it's like something happens in your 40s where you're like, fuck this shit. And you just, it's like,
Your bucket of fucks.
it's totally about the bucket of fucks, right? It's like, I don't have the energy to give a shit about what other people think. I don't have the patience to deal with people who don't make me happy or who don't contribute to my life. I just, by the time we're 40, we're fucking tired and our backs already hurt and we just don't want to deal with it. I think it's less about time and more just about, I know what I want and I'm not going to fuck around.
Yeah.
And maybe it is time, right? I'm not going to waste my time. I'm not going to waste your time. But I think for me, it's more about energy and patience.
Well, because I think from what I see from the women in my life is that those attitudes, it's not just about dating. It's about a lot of aspects of their life.
Friendships start to fade, right? Because it's like, yeah, we had a good run. We made some good memories. We shan't be making any more. We're going separate directions, right? It's jobs for me anyway. I mean, this is the job I'm in now is the longest I've worked at any company, because as soon as I know people who have left marriages with less thought than they leave jobs. Like I worked with somebody who hated their job every day for the 12 years that they worked there. And it's like, let's get your resume ready. Let's get you the fuck out of there. And they're like, no, because they're afraid of change, but then they like left their husband. I don't understand that thought process. But like my last job, I was working from home 2 days a week. And my boss, I got a new boss and she was like, we're going to give you a hefty raise, but you have to be in the office every day. And I was like, bye, Felicia.
Yeah.
That was it. I updated my resume.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I forget where I was going. Oh yeah. So I think the jobs and it's a lot of other things start to let go of, right? Like if my husband I'm wearing a track pants and a shirt right now. If my husband was like, let's go for lunch, I'm like, just need shoes, bitch. Whereas, maybe 15 years ago, I'm like, I should probably put on some pants.
Yeah.
Do more than this to get the dog hair off my sweater. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think if you're comfortable with yourself, you just don't give a shit anymore.
And I think guys get stuck in this weird kind of, I don't know, this weird focus. They're so laser focused on dating and fucking things and getting women and all that stuff that they think everything is about that. And they assume that everybody else around them is also doing the same thing, but we're not.
Well, remember that tweet that we talked about a few weeks ago where this guy had said something to a woman. She was swearing or something. And he's like, that's not very attractive. And she said, what makes you think I'm trying to attract you? Right. And that's it exactly. It's like, I think a lot of men feel that anytime a woman is out in public, she is a playable character. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas like, I just want to be left alone to buy groceries and walk my dog and do all that stuff. I don't want to have to deal with any nonsense. And a lot of men just don't get that.
Yeah. And I felt like there was one time went to a pub with some mates and then I just got chatting to one of the bar staff there because she was reading a book. And it was a book that I'd recently read and I really liked it. So I was just talking to her about the book and how she was finding it. And then one of my mates, and I was surprised she said this because she's a woman. I thought she would have been able to tell that I was just talking to this lass. But then she was like, oh, smooth moves there or something, or like, chatting her up or something like that. And I was like, A, I've got a girlfriend, and B, I'm just talking to her. I was like, she's pregnant. I think she might be married. I didn't get to see her ring. And I was like, I like the book.
This is going back a few years, but I took my niece out for lunch, and you may or may not know this, but I'm kind of friendly.
Yeah.
I may be an introvert, but I am friendly, and I love to give people compliments. It's not like something that I like seek out to do, but if I see something, I'm not going to be shy about, like a beanie, whatever. So I took my niece out for lunch, and like our first server comes by, and like I'm chatting with the server, and I'm like, oh, she had great eyebrows. Love your eyebrows. The second server comes by, the like person who's taking our order, and like same thing, being chatty. And then my niece was like, you flirt with everybody. I'm like, I'm not flirting. I'm being friendly. Like there's a difference between flirtation and friendliness. I think I wonder if it's more about delivery or how it's received. Like maybe people aren't used to having other people be friendly to them, so they assume that they're flirting, or they are only friendly to people when they're flirting. So they assume that whenever somebody's friendly to them, they're flirting.
But I find it seems to be, I mean, super generalizing. It seems to be two groups, right? That it's like young people seem to think that it's always flirting because that's what their brains, that's the mode their brains are in at that point in their lives.
Yeah.
And then I also think that it's those types of men who equate everything in life to trying to get fucked and trying to fuck things. They think everything's flirting. And like, I know a lot of friendly women who just smile at people. They're just friendly and they give compliments and all that stuff. And then the blokes think that they're coming on to them and stuff. And it's like, no, you need to know the difference between a flirtatious smile, a friendly smile, and a fuck off, don't talk to me smile. I think men don't understand those differences. Well, those types of men.
That is very true. And I think flirtation doesn't always mean that there's going to be more to it. Like flirting, flirting can be fun, right? And if it's innocent and it's done innocently without other intent, then it's just a fun thing to do.
It when it's done like without dangling that carrot, the sexual carrot, and it's like, so two people can flirt and that's perfectly normal because you just both go your separate ways and then you carry on with your life.
Yeah, you both know exactly what you're doing.
Yeah, because you have chemistry and then you get on well together. So that's why you flirt. Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's going to go anywhere. But a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people who think flirting is cheating. It's like,
no,
it's just silly.
No, that is ridiculous. But then on the other scale of it, there are people that think that sucking someone's dick isn't cheating.
Yeah, that's where I draw the line.
Yeah, I went on a bit of a Jordan Peterson deep dive the other day, and he was explaining about how one of the problems that we have in society is that we don't understand the unconscious rules around opposite genders working together and building in things like flirtation and friendship and rivalry and all that stuff. We don't actually know what those rules are. Like, we haven't researched them. Nobody's mapped them out and studied them. And we don't know what the right thing is to do and how to deal with it. Because what we've just said here about flirtation, a lot of people are going to disagree with that. And other people are going to mostly agree with us, and other people are going to think the line is different. So one of his examples is that, he spent a lot of time in the interview to explain about how he doesn't think that women's dress code should be regulated in the workplace. That's not something that should happen. But he says, though, that there is clearly a society draws the line somewhere. So if you say, can a bloke turn up to work in just his underwear? Can a woman just turn up to work in her negligee? The answer is no. Right. But then the other side of it is, can we completely stop women wearing all makeup and other forms of accoutrement that they put on? Can we stop that? No. So the line is somewhere between the two.
But I think that's such a weird thing. I think whenever I've seen dress codes, right, it's always it's business casual, and then they will define business casual, but then they'll throw something silly in there like sleeves with women, right? Where a spaghetti strap is a no-go, but a tank top is fine. Those types of arbitrary rules are kind of
weird.
It's weird and kind of ridiculous, right? Business casual has a defined kind of parameters, whether or not you see an inch of my shoulder or 2 inches of my shoulder. If all it takes is 2 inches for you to turn into a raging madman, then perhaps you shouldn't be allowed out in public.
Yeah.
And the makeup thing, it's such a fucked up thing for women, because studies have shown that women who wear makeup to the office are perceived as taking their jobs more seriously than women who don't wear makeup. But then there's a fine line between the type of makeup, because if you wear even just a smidge too much, then you're not taking your job seriously. So there's always this weird, and when I would go to the office, I would wear makeup all the time because makeup is fun. I like wearing makeup. But then if I called in sick and then had to go to the office the next day, I wouldn't wear makeup because I have people oh, are you okay? You don't look so good. It's kind of one of those things once you start, you got to do it forever, because if you don't wear makeup and then start, people notice. And if you do wear makeup and then don't, people think you're terminally ill. Yeah.
And I think this is the thing with blokes, is that obviously we were dominating the work environment up until quite recently. And we already had ways of regulating our dress code in the workplace. That's why suits were created, to create a uniform that was somewhat customizable, right? But we essentially all look, even now, men pretty much look the same when you go into a workplace. There's not that much of a bigger difference of people in a professional work environment. But then where women entered the workplace in higher numbers, there's always been more diversity in what women do with their dress codes. Just in general,
well, women have more
society.
options, right? We've
Yeah.
got pants, we've got dresses, we've got skirts. Like there's just more opportunity to mix and match things.
Yeah. And then it's so a lot of these old dress codes, I think, are a holdover from that male dominated, like where all work was male dominated. And then now we're getting to more equality in more industries. Now we're coming up against problems because we're still trying to figure out how to manage these things. And then all of the older misogyny is hopefully dying off, because that is what is regulating a lot of those older codes, isn't it?
I think there's also a lot of like, if I can't have it, no one can, right? Like
Yeah.
I work with guys in IT who they've been allowed to wear like jeans to work because they're climbing under desks. They're going into server rooms, right? Like they're not going to wear a suit to climb under someone's desk to set up a computer, but people will see them in jeans like, well, how come they get to wear jeans and I can't wear jeans? Like,
Yeah.
that's not your fucking job.
Yeah.
Stop looking what everybody else has and lamenting about what you don't, and just fucking do your job. You do you, boo.
Yeah,
Like,
you're there to do your work. Like if you're thinking about the way Billy Joe Bob from IT is dressed.
This is what drove me crazy after I quit smoking, because non-smokers would often complain about breaks that smokers were getting. And it's like, everyone's entitled to breaks in their work day, right? How you choose to spend your break is up to you. So if a smoker gets up and goes outside for a break, and like I used to know smokers who, instead of taking 2 15-minute breaks and an hour lunch, would just split up like 6 15-minute breaks during the day, right? Like you manage your time accordingly if you're in a position that allows you to do so. Like if you're punching a time clock, probably not. But if you're sitting in an office, you can go for a smoke break whenever. But non-smokers would lose their minds about that. But then when I quit smoking, how I know non-smokers would lose their minds about it is that when I quit smoking, I would see whenever the smokers would get up to go for a smoke, the non-smokers would get together to complain about them taking breaks. And it's like, you're on the same break. You're just wasting it in here instead of going outside. Like, and it doesn't matter what they're fucking doing. Do your job. Do what you're being paid to do.
Focus on yourself and you'll get promoted.
Exactly. Leave them alone. And also, as a non-smoker, it taught me to be more efficient because I had less time to get the same amount of work done. Because I was out smoking.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that when I've been in workplaces that have had people going off for smoke breaks, like years ago when I worked at McDonald's, for example, I'd either say I'm going for my smoke break and just go chill out for a minute and get 5 minutes of fresh air, or I'd say, because he's just come back from a smoke break, can I take 2 minutes? And then they'd say yes. There was never a problem because I asked them.
It's the lack of communication. There it is. And I think it all comes back to that, because it also, when we talked a couple minutes ago about uniforms in the workplace and flirtation and stuff in the workplace, it's about communicating, because people's boundaries are different.
Yeah.
Where some people do not want to be flirted with in even 0%. So that's their boundary, but other people don't mind. So, but you don't know unless you are okay having uncomfortable conversations, right? When someone does something, instead of running to HR to give them shit, just get, you know what, that makes me uncomfortable. I'd rather you not do that. Here's the boundary we're going to set.
Yeah.
And then you figure out how to move forward instead of making it a hostile work environment from the get-go. But
yeah, exactly. Go straight to HR, get someone fired for doing nothing.
Yeah.
Well, meanwhile, you've got some bloke jacking off in all the pot plants that everybody knows is a sex offender, but I'm not thinking of anyone specific. I think
it sounds pretty specific.
no, I'm just thinking that like the people who know how to play the game, the actual real offenders, like they get away with it for so long because people are clogging up with like silly claims and nobody's actually tackling the real issue, which is the office molester, you know?
Or they're just very good at hiding it.
Exactly. Yeah. And it then that's the problem is a lot of the stuff that's regulated, and I mean dress code is a really good example of that. All of this regulation just harms your everyday worker bee. You know, like they're having to deal with all this shit because one person was a dickhead. Like you need to punish and regulate the dickheads more.
this is always drove me crazy. Like when I was working in like call center, more I saw it more there than anywhere else. Is that managers would have like one person who was doing something shitty, so they would send an email to their entire team or address it in an entire team meeting because they were afraid of addressing that one person.
Yeah.
They would give 15 people shit instead of just one, right? Like address the situation, address their performance, because someone who, so my friend, her daughter is one of those types of people who, that if a teacher was giving one person in class shit, she thought they were talking to her. Right? Like if she were to follow that into a work environment and you got 15 people, everyone's getting the same message because one person shit the bed. That one person may not get that message because they're going to be like, I'm innocent. Where like someone who's completely innocent is going to be like, are they talking about me? Is that about me? Like, do I have to do something? And it's going to cause them a panic. Address the situation. Everybody's afraid to talk to everybody. Makes me mad. I'm on a mini rant.
Yeah. It's a good one though, because conflict resolution is at the heart of everything. It's one of the things I was talking about the live last night with that rich bloke, and then we're just talking about how men on construction sites and stuff resolve conflict. And like he said, he's been doing it for 20, 30 years and he's only ever seen a couple of fights. And the way it's presented in the media and all this stuff about men and toxic masculinity, you'd think that we were fighting and beating the shit out of each other every 5 minutes. But it's like, it's not the case. Like if you leave blokes alone to do their job, they figure it out,
They don't have duels with nail guns. That's how I saw it going down.
Yeah.
I don't know why. I mean, I think it's silly when people are like, oh, they don't like confrontation. I don't know anybody who likes confrontation, right? I think anybody who likes confrontation is probably kind of an asshole. But you don't have to like it to do it. Like there are some behaviors that need to be addressed and it's uncomfortable in the moment. But then you can choose to be uncomfortable every time you're with that person, or uncomfortable for the 10 minutes it takes you to say, I feel uncomfortable when you demonstrate this behavior. Can you not do that anymore?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like it's an ugly conversation to have if you don't feel comfortable having it, but it's better than like hiding behind the water cooler whenever they're filming.
One of the things that I find interesting as well is that as an autistic person, people seem to be quite happy confronting me about my problematic behaviors, but aren't willing to have me tell me theirs.
I wonder if they think it's a teaching moment. Oh,
yeah.
Let's teach the poor autistic boy how to.
Yeah.
He doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
Because everyone's the hero of their own story, right?
Exactly.
Like I saw a video of a woman threatening to get this family deported because they didn't want to give her a refund on this pizza. And the only reason she wanted a refund on the pizza was because they didn't speak English.
Oh,
it wasn't that the pizza was bad. So like the person who works there, one of the employees who works there, who speaks perfect English, was recording the whole thing. And the woman is like yelling about like, you don't speak English, you don't belong here, you're illegal. And then she's like, you're going to record me? That's fine. I'm going to record you. So she starts recording and she's like, they're not giving me a refund. They're keeping me hostage in here. And it's like, how do you think this is going to play out for you, lady? Like, I don't understand how in 2023, I understand how people are still shitty in 2023. I don't understand how people are still allowing themselves to be recorded being shitty.
Yeah.
How dumb do you have to be to not know that every single person around you is carrying a camera? And as soon as you start acting up,
they're going to get it out and start recording you.
Yeah. Like, I'm afraid to pull a wedgie out when I'm walking the dogs for fear of what seeing it on the internet. Like, I don't even want to like correct Gozer when we're walking and he drags me down the street. Just in case, look, GVizzle's a dog abuser. No.
Yeah, I've seen that happen. Quite a few cat accounts and stuff. People attack them for being animal abusers and things. There's nothing happening. Like you vet their content, the cats are perfectly happy, and yet people are still coming for them.
Yeah, well, people come for everybody.
Yeah.
There's they have pet safe nail polish for people who want it. I don't get it, but that's fine. Chacun son goût. So there's pet safe nail polish. So this woman had posted a picture of her dog's nails beside her nails. They had similar colors of nail polish, and she said, "Our manicures," right? She made it clear. I guess people didn't read the caption because half the comments were like, "That's so bad for your dog. Take out that nail polish. What nail polish are you using?" She put it in the comment, man. She said it's fine.
It says it. Says it. It's right there. Fucking hell. People.
But you know what pisses me off even more now? I think we talked about this a little bit. Is I've never been a big fan of recording people being shitty and putting it online, because people are allowed to be shitty, and I think that them getting fired from their jobs or getting death threats from people online because they were shitty is the punishment does not fit the crime in that case. But what makes me even angrier is people just living their lives, and someone decides to record them to mock them and put it online. It just leave people the fuck alone. Yeah. Leave people the fuck alone. Like there was one, it was a couple in a restaurant with their son, and he was wearing a VR mask, and people were going crazy in the comments. It's like, what? They're minding their own business. Their kid is there entertaining himself. What difference would it make if it was an iPad or a phone? Or when I was a kid, they used to give you crayons and an activity placemat to keep the kids busy. Like, you're trying to keep your kid busy. We live in an age where that's how you do it. But people are like, look at this couple, like fucking off with their kids. Like, maybe they're having an adult conversation. The kid didn't want to be out for dinner. Entertain the kid. He doesn't want to listen to mom and dad talk about the fucking mortgage. Like,
exactly.
Just leave people alone. Let them be.
And I think probably a lot of those people don't have children, perhaps, because they don't consider, like, if you've got this kid 24 hours of the day, you need some fucking time to yourself.
And it's like, this kid is like 11 or 12. He doesn't want to sit and have a conversation with his parents over dinner. Like, that's boring. Maybe they've already had that conversation and now he's entertaining himself. Yeah. Just leave people alone when they're just living their lives and minding their own business. Yeah. It makes me so mad.
Yeah, and then especially when it's... Huh?
No, you go ahead.
I was going to say, but when they do it with people who are clearly in mental health distress, and it might be a meth addict, or it might be somebody flipping out or something like that, and then they record them. You just think that could be you one day.
Those people, like, that person needs help. They don't need your mockery.
Exactly.
They don't need your pity. They don't need your mockery. They need help.
Yeah, and then I figure everybody should spend at least one day sitting in a drug rehab clinic, just sitting in the waiting room to see the kind of people that come through. People always think it's like some strung out heroin addict or something. But no, it's fucking people like me. It's people like you. It's old people, young people.
One of the scariest movies, also books, I ever read wasn't even a horror movie or book. It was Requiem for a Dream by Hubert Selby Jr. Have you ever seen it or read it?
I know the name, but I haven't seen it or read it.
It's definitely... it was a really well done movie adaptation of the book, but it's 4 people. So there's an older woman, her son, his girlfriend, and his friend. The son and his girlfriend and friend are all addicted to heroin, and so he comes in and steals her TV, takes to the pawn shop. She's used to it. She goes back to the pawn shop, gets her TV, brings it back. It's this cycle. But then she gets this letter that she's going to be on this she's been selected for a game show. So she wants to lose weight to fit into this dress. So she starts taking these diet pills. That's just speed. So she is deepening into her addiction. At the same time, we're watching her son and his friends get deeper into their addictions and what they do. His arm gets infected. He loses his arm. His girlfriend is now doing these weird sex shows to make money to get heroin. But it's just, you watch them all descend from what started I'm just going to take this pill to lose a few pounds for the show. And that fucking terrifies me, because that could be anybody at any time. Yeah.
And it it salami slices your life up. So you start off and you think, oh, I'll just take those couple of diet pills, not knowing its speed and not knowing the effects of it. And then gradually your ethics and your morals and your norms will just be salami sliced away. And then before you know it, you're given hand jobs behind a fast food restaurant or something. No, I know that's weirdly specific. I haven't done that.
But it's no one ever thinks it's going to happen to them until it happens to them.
Exactly.
And that's the thing. I think we just need to have a bit more compassion and empathy, because everyone thinks it's when people walk past people who are, homeless and they judge them. It's they didn't start that way. Exactly. Right? There was this circumstances that led them there, whether by choice or by chance. That's where they are. And that could be, right? You talk to anybody for 5 minutes, they're either they came from a broken home that it was safer for them to leave than to be there, or shit happens. Jobs get lost. People circumstances arise where you just can't afford it anymore. So what do you do?
Yeah. I think what people hate me recommending this book because it's by J.K. Rowling, but people should read Casual Vacancy because it does it about like it's basically just Middle England, and it's like a nice little quaint English town, and it follows a bunch of characters around, but it's like a traditional English town in the sense that it's got like the upper class people, middle class, and you've got like the working class area and the people on welfare and everything, and it talks about the issues of them interacting and the kind of issues that they all have in their aspect of society, and it really is it would be eye-opening for a lot of people. A lot of people didn't like the book. I think it's because they couldn't live with the truth that it was telling people.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's the thing. Everybody wants to have blinders on and not
it doesn't
see things
exist.
from a distance, right? Like I'll donate to this charity that helps children in a developing part of the world, but I will ignore the children in my town that are going to school hungry every day.
And then homeless problems like Los Angeles, San Francisco, and Austin happen because they don't want to deal with that aspect of it, you know? There was a guy I think it was in LA, he developed, I think it's like he owned a construction company or something, and he designed low-cost temporary housing for homeless people in Los Angeles. And then, so he started setting them all up, and they started giving these homeless people these little shanty homes, basically. And the local government shut it down, wouldn't let him do it.
Why?
They didn't want him doing it. Like there was a woman, I think in her 60s, I think it might have been Texas, I might be wrong. She was feeding the homeless and got arrested.
Yeah, I saw that. And she's like, I'm just going to keep doing it.
Yeah. And she found loopholes in the laws and stuff to be able to keep doing it.
What? But they're pro-life.
Yeah, right.
Fucking crazy. I think Georgia there's a bill that they're putting forward that a woman caught having an abortion would be eligible for the death penalty.
Oh, and they've brought back the firing squad, I think. So
pro-life.
Yeah. Jesus.
Oh, well, this was a depressing end.
We still got 7 minutes. Quick, say something funny. Do something fun.
The pressure.
Okay, I've loaded up whatchamacallit.
Oh my god, this is a good one. I just got this one yesterday. I had a friend who didn't take my advice about only wifing virgins, had a baby with this broad with a 15 plus body count. The baby came out looking like a composition of the past 15 guys she fucked. Doctor said it had something to do with the sperm residue sticking to the vaginal walls.
What?
What does he think is, how sticky does he think sperm is? What does he think the vaginal walls are like? Like where, what?
And what doctor was it? Was it like a doctor of Scientology or something?
He probably believes in urine therapy.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He didn't take my advice about wifing virgins. 15 plus. What would that baby look like? A composition of the past 15 guys. How does that even work? Does he have like one guy's left eyebrow, one guy's right eyebrow, a blue eye, a black brown eye?
Heterochromia. Yeah.
Different fingers on.
Just different shades of skin. Half
He's like
circumcised.
He's patchwork. He's like a quilt.
Yeah.
Yeah, the doctor said sperm on the vaginal wall. Okay.
That's not how it works. Sometimes there is occasionally something which happens called chimerism, which is the one twin gets absorbed into the other, doesn't it?
That's not the situation here.
No.
But like, how come it's always how come they never say this guy got a virgin pregnant and the baby looks like the 30 previous women he's fucked, because when he's been inside them, the vaginal wall has collected into his.
Yeah.
It's never that way.
No.
He's shooting. What if he has sex with a woman and pieces of her vaginal wall enter through his urethra and they get inside of his system, because everybody knows that's how it works, and then the stuff that he didn't expel through his white man tears, then gets shot into the next woman that he has sex with, and now because it's somebody else's vaginal walls coming in, she's carrying another woman's baby.
Yeah. There is one contradiction that I've just realized, just reminded me of it. So
What's that?
one of the things they like to talk about why abortion is wrong is because the woman doesn't own the fetus, like it's not inside her, because technically the vagina and the womb and everything is outside of the body. We've covered this before. It's technically true, but also not. So so they use that as one of the reasons why a woman isn't allowed to have an abortion. But then how come they always think of sex as the man penetrating the woman then? Well, like, because if it's outside the body, then you're not penetrating anything, are you?
No, that's a good point.
Yeah. It's not manly
Look at
enough.
us, solving the world's problems.
Yeah.
One problem at a time.
Yeah. But I wouldn't be surprised if what you just said is something that one of them will come up with at some point. This is why you've got to be like, this is why God said you can only be with your wife.
Because then you could be having somebody else's baby, impregnating a woman with another woman's baby.
Yeah, exactly. And how come, as well, continuing your thought, they think that all babies are born with original sin because of Eve, because the womb is contaminated. Okay, so how come it's okay for these people to go around and shoot loads in all these women, but they can't go then and have lots of different loads in them?
But if the womb is contaminated, they're contaminating themselves by putting themselves in.
Exactly. Dirty.
See, that's why they have to have future Demolition Man sex.
Yeah, I think that's the only way forward. Maybe that's what the kid was doing. He's getting groomed online. That's why everyone's angry.
Every episode comes back to Demolition Man.
Oh man. Oh, that was hilarious. I think, have I put it?